星の宇宙に物見の腕楽園の端から君に聞かせよう。君たちの物語は祝福に満ちている。罪なき者のみ通るがいい。ガーデン・オブ・アバロン。
What is up, guys? Stark here. I am back again for day 16 of the 25 Days of Fate, and in today's video I am doing the character spotlight for the one and only Merlin. So Merlin is probably one of the most sought after characters in the game, and he does make his debut onto Global as a recruitable character in 4 days as of the recording of this video. And much like most of you, I am extremely excited for him, and I really hope I can get him on my team. Why? Because he is the best character in the game. He is a 5-star caster who will go up to level 90, and at level 90 he will have 14,259 HP and 10,546 attack. This will rank him 13th overall in HP and 40th overall in attack. For those of you who are wondering how he stacks up to Waver, he has the same HP as Waver, and his attack is a little bit worse, but it's only by a couple of spots. So overall his stats compare very well to Waver, who would be like the current best support character in the game before Merlin comes out. So Merlin has a fantastic kit of skills, is extremely overpowered, and this is part of the reason why most people consider him to be one of the better characters, best character in the game. And the first one is going to be the Dreamlike Charisma A, which will increase party's attack for 3 turns. It will also increase the party's level Phantasm gauge by 20%. So this is a very good skill. It is a buff to the traditional Charisma skill. You know, you get your attack bonus, but on top of that, you also get your Noble Phantasm gauge filled. And this will be a 20% increase at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time. So this is a very good skill. It has a low cooldown, and you'll be able to recycle this quite often. Moving on to his second skill, and this is going to be the Illusion A. Now, this will grant your entire party invincibility for 1 turn, as well as increase your party's critical star generation rate for 1 turn, and reduce all enemies' critical attack chance for 3 turns. So this skill gives you a whole bunch of stuff. You know, getting that full team invincibility is going to be huge. You know, you could just use it to ignore Noble Phantasm attacks, things like that, and you also increase your generation and reduce their attack and reduce their critical attack chance for 3 turns. So that's really good. Obviously the first turn is going to be, you know, they're going to be invincible, so it really doesn't matter, but you do get the 2 extra turns of being able to reduce their critical attack chance. Overall, it's just a really good skill. You get 50% increase to your star generation on a 7-turn charge time, so it does have a little bit of a longer cooldown, but when you're giving your entire team invincibility, you know, you really can't expect to have it at a 5-turn cooldown. Moving on to his third and final skill is going to be the Hero Creation EX, and yeah, you know, this is part of the reason where the memes come in. I'm not going to talk about it, you guys know what it is, and yeah, moving on to his effects here is going to increase one ally's buster performance for 3 turns, as well as increasing their maximum HP for 3 turns, and increasing their critical damage for 1 turn. So this is going to be really helpful. Obviously, if you're going with a buster team, this is going to be a fantastic skill to use. Being able to get a 50% increase to your buster card effectiveness for 3 turns, and you'll be able to raise their maximum HP by 3,000 at max level, as well as giving them a 100% increase to their critical damage on a 6-turn charge time, which is absolutely insane. So if we go ahead and compare him to Waver, which most people do, Waver's critical damage skill will increase their critical strength by 50% for 3 turns, and increase their Noble Phantasm gauge by 30%. So if you go ahead and compare that to what Merlin can do here, he's going to get the increase to critical damage by 100%. Now yes, this is only for 1 turn compared to Waver's 3, but on top of that you also get the buster card increase for 3 turns at the same rate. So you get 50% buster card effectiveness as opposed to critical damage, but you still do get that critical damage buff as well, and you do also get maximum HP on top of that. And all of that for just 1 extra turn on charge time is really just fantastic. So yeah, overall, obviously as you guys can see here, he has a ton of buffs, and they're insanely good buffs, being able to help your team along the way. Yeah, the third skill is primarily helpful against buster characters, but still, you know, he's got a fantastic kit of skills, and you can just plug him onto anything and you're going to be good. Again, if you want to compare him to Waver, Waver does give you a 50% increase to your Noble Phantasm gauge with his skills, where Merlin only has a 20% increase to the gauge. However, he makes up for that with his Noble Phantasm, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, and most of the effects that Waver has, Merlin has, but just better. So Waver has the attack increase, Merlin has that too. He has the Noble Phantasm gauge increase, which Waver has. Waver has the critical damage, Merlin has critical damage and Buster Card effectiveness increase. Waver has damage reduction, Merlin has invincibility. So, and on top of that, Merlin also has critical star generation, and he also has the ability to debuff the enemy and increase the allies' maximum HP. So I'm just saying, you know, he can do a lot of things Waver could do, and he can just do them better, just maybe not as long. So moving on to his passives, he has 3 of them. The first one is going to be the Territory Creation C, which will increase his arts card effectiveness by 6%. The second one is going to be the Item Construction C, which will increase his debuff chance by 6%. And finally, he has the Mixed Blood EX, which will charge his own Noble Phantasm gauge by 5% every turn. Moving on to his Ascension. For his first Ascension, you're going to need 5 caster pieces and 100,000 quantum pieces. For his second Ascension, you're going to need 12 caster pieces and 8 forbidden gears, as well as 300,000 quantum pieces. For his third Ascension, you're going to need 5 caster monuments, 10 forbidden pages, 2 scarabs of wisdom, and 1 million quantum pieces. And then finally, for his last Ascension, you're going to need 12 caster monuments, 4 scarab of wisdoms, 5 reverse dragon scales, and 3 million quantum pieces. As for his skill enhancements, to max out his skill from 1 to 10, you're going to need 17 gems of caster, 17 magic gems of caster, 17 secret gems of caster, 15 forbidden pages, 15 eternal gears, 11 spirit roots, 10 heart of the foreign gods, 1 crystallized lore, and 54,400,000 quantum pieces. As for which skills you want to max out, honestly for Merlin, you're just going to max them all out anyway, so there's really not a priority one over the other. If you had to pick though, I would probably go with Hero Creation first, then Illusion, then Dreamlike Charisma. Dreamlike Charisma, you get that 20% gauge increase across the board no matter what level it is, so you don't really have to worry about leveling that up too much. Hero Creation, you're going to benefit from getting the Buster Card effectiveness increase and the maximum HP, as well as the crit damage. I would give that the slight edge over Illusion, because even if you don't have it maximum level, you still get the invincibility for 1 turn. So that's just my opinion. Honestly though, you're going to max all 3 of his skills out as quickly as you possibly can if you do get Merlin. As far as like servants you can combo Merlin with, like I'm not really going to talk about it too much in depth, because you can literally put Merlin with any character and you'll be fine. Like, I'm serious, like he just fits in for pretty much any situation, any team. Obviously, if you're using Buster cards, then he's going to be a better option, but he can still find his way into anything with his strong support skills and his strong Noble Phantasm. So yeah, there's really not much I could talk about. You know, I just have a couple of Buster cards that are on the top servants list. You could also combo him with another Merlin, and then just pick like another character that's just going to be your primary damage dealer and just go to town. Maybe, like, for me, I would probably combo it with Q Cullen or Q Alter. And you could just use him to do so much damage, and he has such like a tanky evasion. He's really hard to kill. And then you have essentially 2 turns of invincibility, and then his skills will probably come back up, so you get more evasion out of it. And you can combo that with Merlin's Noble Phantasms, and you're always just going to be doing so much damage, and it's going to be really hard to kill your team. But that is also the good thing about Merlin. You don't actually need to have Merlin to use him effectively, because you could just take a support Merlin in and you'll get the same benefit from it. So as long as you have a support Merlin, you can still get by, just take him. Obviously it limits the options you can use from like friend support if you're taking a Merlin in, but if that's what you have to do, then he's definitely going to be available. A lot of people are going to be pulling for him and hopefully getting him, and you know, that's just an option. If you don't get him this time around, you just take a friend and you'll still be just as good. And if you have 2 Merlins and you want to use 2 Merlins, then that's even better. Moving on to his command card deck though, he will have 1 quick, 3 arts, 1 buster, and the hit counts are going to be 3 on the quick, 2 on the arts, and 5 on the buster, with 6 on his extra attack. This is a little weird that he only has 2 hits on his arts cards, so he's not going to get too much Noble Phantasm generation from his arts cards, but he does have 3 arts cards, so you're going to be getting Noble Phantasm, or arts chains rather, and that'll help increase your Noble Phantasm gauge. He also does have the passive that'll automatically increase his Noble Phantasm gauge every turn on top of his skill, and his Noble Phantasm is arts as well that won't actually deal any damage, but it will recover your party's HP every turn for 5 turns from 1000 HP up to 2000 HP when it's maxed out. And then it'll also charge your Noble Phantasm gauge by 5% every turn for 5 turns. And on the overcharge, you will be able to get critical stars every turn for 5 turns as well. So obviously, this is a fantastic Noble Phantasm. It's a very good support Noble Phantasm. And honestly, the thing is, if you use his Noble Phantasm, say on the first wave, you could theoretically always have his Noble Phantasm active for the entire fight. Like, you mean to tell me that you can't get Merlin's Noble Phantasm gauge filled in 5 turns? Like, that would be extremely difficult to do on its own. Like, you'd have to be trying not to fill his gauge in order to not fill his gauge. You know, you're going to get the gauge filled from his Noble Phantasm, from his passive, so that's 10% right there every single turn. He has an art stack, so you're going to be getting so many arts chains and things like that. You're going to be getting Noble Phantasm generation. His skills have Noble Phantasm generation. So really, it's not going to be that hard to get his Noble Phantasm generated very easily. So now moving on to some craft essences for this character. And first up is his maximum bond craft essence, which is the Tower at the End of the World. And while equipped, this will increase Buster Card effectiveness of all of your allies by 10% and their critical strength by 15%. Next up, we have Kaleidoscope. Now this is a little bit of a questionable choice, but my line of thinking is what I just talked about, where if you want to use Merlin's Noble Phantasm on the first turn to get the chain rolling and just keep using his Noble Phantasm and keeping those effects active as much as possible, this is a great one to use. You know, 80% increase, use his first skill, and you have his Noble Phantasm ready to go. Just throw it on. His effects are, you know, multiple turns, so even if you don't get that first turn of healing, you're still going to make up for it moving on with the next 4 turns, and then that gives you more time to get his Noble Phantasm ready again for the time those effects wear off, and then you can go ahead and use the Noble Phantasm a second time, and just keep all of those effects active the entire fight. Next up is a Fragment of 2030, and this will grant you 8 stars every single turn. This is a really good choice. Anytime you have a support character, this craft essence is very helpful. Just being able to get those stars every turn goes a long way with crit attacks and crit damage, and you know, he does have a skill that will increase generation as well, and he also has the ability to grant stars on his Noble Phantasm. So just throwing more stars on top of that is going to be able to increase your damage output just a little bit more. And then finally, we have the Prisma Cosmos. This will increase his Noble Phantasm gauge by 8% every single turn, or 10% on maximum limit broken ones. And this is really good. If you have his Noble Phantasm activated with his passive and a max limit broken Prisma Cosmos, then you'll be able to fill his Noble Phantasm gauge without doing anything before his Noble Phantasm runs out. You'll get 20% every turn for 5 turns, that'll be 100%, and you use a Noble Phantasm again. So you could just throw him in there, not have to do anything else, and he's going to have his Noble Phantasm ready consistently every single time when his Noble Phantasm runs out. So this is a really good option to use. Even if it's not max limit broken, the odds of you not being able to get that extra 2% on his gauge every single turn is going to be really, really, really low. So now moving on to the ranks for this character, and honestly, I'm not even going to do what I usually do and run through it, because Merlin gets 5 stars in everything. I really can't give him anything else other than 5 stars. His stats are 5 stars, you know, that has a formula, so I really can't change that. His skills are absolutely fantastic. They don't even have high cooldowns, so I can't take any points away there. When I originally did this, I gave him 4.5 stars for his Noble Phantasm, but after thinking about it, you know, just because it doesn't do damage doesn't mean it can't get a 5-star ranking. You're able to heal, increase Noble Phantasm gauge, and get stars. Like, that is one of the best support Noble Phantasms you could ask for. And as I previously stated, you can literally have his Noble Phantasm active the entire fight, and that is just amazing. For his survivability, he gets 5 stars for the same reason. You're going to have your Noble Phantasm activated for the entire fight, so you're going to reliably get most likely 1000 HP heal every single turn for 5 turns. So you're getting tons of heals. He has an invincibility, a team invincibility on top of that. It's going to be really hard to kill Merlin and his team. As for his versatility, he also is going to get 5 stars just because, you know, he's got a fantastic kit of skills and it combos well with pretty much any character. And yeah, I mean, obviously, as I said, Buster cards benefit more from him, but you don't need Buster cards in your team in order to make the most of it. You just need some sort of damage dealer. He has an arts deck, so you can use him in arts teams. He has critical skills, so you can use him on crit teams. He has the Buster increase, so you can use him on Buster teams. He can literally go onto any team, and if you have him, you're probably going to be using him very often, if not on every team in some capacity. even if you are going against riders. So yeah, that overall gives him a 5 out of 5. Perfect character. The only character I think I'll ever give a 10 out of 10 to, or a 5 out of 5 to. I really didn't want to. Like, I don't really like giving people 100% 5 out of 5s, you know, perfect rankings. Because really, every character has some sort of flaw. But for Merlin, I just went ahead and did it. You know, I had the 4.5 out of 5. It was a 4.9 out of 5. So I figured, what the heck, I'll just go ahead and give him the 5 out of 5. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's Merlin. I'm really hoping I can get him. I will have a pull video for that when he does roll around. And I really hope I get him. I really want to max him out and use him. And hopefully all you guys who are pulling for him get him. And as always, if you like this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I have links in the description below for my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord. And as always, through the month of December, I have the Fate Grand Order giveaway going on, which will have a giveaway for your chance to win some Saint Courts. So maybe you can win that and pull for Merlin and get him yourself. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.